This video is going to show you how to believe something you don't currently believe. I'm going to share with you ways of punching through this barrier so that you're able to create your life in a much more powerful way. Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you how to believe something that you do not currently believe. Now, the key to this is understanding the power of focus. It's understanding the power of the idea that our beliefs are literally creating our reality, that whatever we believe to be true is always being mirrored back to us. And that's the way the mirror of life works. It's all a mere reflection of what we believe to be true. Now the thing is some of the beliefs that we have are unconscious. We're not aware of what we do believe. But you see, this is where the power is. When you bring what you are unaware of into the awareness, so you bring the unconscious into the conscious, guess what? You take your power back, because then from that point of view, you can either let go of the beliefs that don't serve you, or you can choose the new beliefs that actually do serve you. So what I'm going to be talking about today is going to have a couple different variations, a couple different ways of going down this path, and how when you do that, you start to create a whole new life for yourself, because then it starts to get a more authentic expression of who you are. Most of the way we view ourselves happen from something that happened in our childhood. Now sometimes this is kind of hard to understand, because then it's like, well, how am I supposed to know every little thing that happened in my childhood? But the way the brain works is that you can ask yourself certain questions. And that as you ask yourself certain questions, your brain will start to look for the answers. And sometimes that means it will bring things that were priorly in the unconscious into the conscious. And the key is the questions that you are asking yourself. So let me give you some examples. Maybe when you were a kid, your parents told you that you were best to be seen and not heard because you're a child. So then, in that moment, maybe you got in trouble for saying something at the dinner table or at a family event, and they said, hey, you're not supposed to be talking, remember? Children are meant to be seen and not heard. And you go, oh, okay. So you start to associate pain with expressing yourself, and then you believe that you aren't worthy to actually express yourself, or that people really don't want to hear what you have to say. So then as you go through life experience, you might be in a job, and then the opportunity comes up for you to speak up about some idea that you have, but you're like, wait, subconsciously, you're like, I am meant to be seen and not heard, even though now you're an adult. But you see, that pattern was instilled at such an early age that you may start to lock yourself in because of that belief that you have. So you may say, well, how am I supposed to believe that I can express myself when I don't currently believe it? Well, this is what we're going to be talking about in this video. You see, that's where the power is. It's in the awareness of what that memory was and starting to ask yourself that question. What do I believe to be true about myself? Where did this memory come from? What is the emotion I feel when I do certain things? So the key to this is just becoming aware of what that belief currently is, and understand that any belief you have is just a momentum of thought in a certain direction. This is like the classical Abraham Hicks type understanding. What we do is we have some type of thought, and we say, okay, we continue to think that because most of our thoughts are on autopilot. Over 90% of what we think day in and day out is thought the day before. So what we can begin to do is become aware of what that autopilot mind is. And then what we do is, as we become aware of what their momentum is, we can say, do I want to keep this momentum going? And what we can do is we can either shift the focus, so anytime you're in a meeting, for example, and you find that you want to say something but you don't know if you should, what you can then do is like, okay, right now I'm focusing on how I shouldn't speak up because of the pain that'll come with it. Well, instead, what if I focused on the pleasure that could come from it? On knowing that as I express myself, I'm going to maybe get an idea out there that I get recognized for, or I'm going to put an idea out there that helps the company or that helps me grow. You start to change the focus. Whatever you focus on, you feel, and a lot of what we believe to be true is because we have certain feelings that are locked into place. Now, another part of changing and believing something you don't currently believe simply has to do with finding other people that have overcome the same type of adversity. So for example, something that wasn't believed to be true a long time ago was running a 4-minute mile. Just wasn't true. It wasn't something that was in the collective consciousness. Then what happened is somebody stepped up and said, I'm going to do this. They ran a 4-minute mile. I think his name is Robert Hessing, or I forget his name, but his name is Robert something. He was the first one to ever run a 4-minute mile. Well, guess what happened after that? He set the way that people can run a 4-minute mile, and within a couple years, dozens and dozens of people have run a 4-minute mile, and now thousands of people have run a 4-minute mile, and many of them, and some of them have even been in high school. So it changes the way that we view it, and when we see other people that have done it, we start to realize I can do it too. So how can you apply this? Well, maybe you're like, I don't believe. I remember, I've shared this story once or twice before, but I remember that I was working out, and I just simply thought that I couldn't do something specific. It's called push-pulls. It's this thing at the gym when I'm pulling this weight, and at the end of it is there's a rope, and then there's weight at the end of it. And it was really heavy. It was challenging. What you do is you pull it, and then you push it back, and you run it back as fast as you can. I was doing that, and then me and my buddy were working out, and then one of the trainer guys walked over. He weighs like 180, 200 pounds, just sat on top of it. And then I was like, my friend was like, go and pull it, see if you can pull it. I was like, no, I can't do that. And it was just a block in my head. For some reason, I just thought, hey, I can't do that. But then he goes, why do you say you can't do that? He's like, you don't know, you haven't tried it yet. I was like, okay. So I was like, oh, and I started to do it. I just simply knew that I've seen him do it before. I've seen other people pull people before, but I just assumed that I couldn't do it. But as I shifted my focus, I then started to focus on it, and I started to realize that I could do it, and it was hard. I was real sore the next day, but I remember it was like almost inching. It was very slowly I was pulling it, but nonetheless I did it. And it really proved to myself that these blocks are in our mind of what we can and can't do. But when we start to redefine it, that's when we start to experience more of what we want. So find other people. So maybe you're like, okay, I believe this is my certain background. I didn't come from much, and I want to have my own art gallery, right? Well, what you could do is find other people that have started their own art gallery or that have marketed themselves online in a certain way and find out their stories, because many times you'll find that people have also come from nothing in the same type of industry or a very similar situation, and sometimes even much more limited resources than what you have. And then when you see other people do it, you're like, oh yeah, I could do that too if I simply apply myself and I start to do it and I start to take action with it. So see other people, find other people that have done it. That will begin to reframe your belief. This is why sometimes reading books, biographies of people that have been successful can really help, because when you see other people do it, you think, why not myself? It changes the perspective. Now, another thing you could do to believe something that you don't currently believe is to take baby steps. I remember there was this video on either Instagram or YouTube, and if you guys haven't followed me on Instagram, make sure you do. I'm going to be doing more live Q&As where you guys can ask questions and I'll answer them. So if you want your questions answered, follow me. I'll go ahead and put the link below. And I was on Instagram, and I remember seeing this montage of like this lady that in her mind, she just did not think she could jump onto this platform. And this platform was like kind of tall, but it wasn't that tall. It was something probably any of us could do. But in her mind, she didn't think she could do it. So it shows her trying and not like, she just keeps stopping herself. Like she's getting ready to jump, and she just keeps stopping herself. So what they do is they give her these little planks that are like barely off the ground, like this much, and then this much, and then this much. And she just jumps, and she just spends like 15 times jumping on this little platform that's like an inch off the ground. Okay, I can do that. Then 2 or 3 inches, and then she does that like 10 times, and then she does the next one, and then it's a little bit higher, and then eventually she gets up to the one she was doing, but it took her little baby steps because she had to reframe it in her own mind that she could do it. So sometimes just getting the motions in general starts the body memory, the muscle memory in a way for you to do it. Now you could do this not just bodily wise and physically, but you could do this mentally as well. Maybe it's getting a certain account and pushing yourself, and you work a sales job. Or maybe what you could do is you could start doing it from different angles, or appealing to certain type of people and kind of stepping outside your own comfort zone. So start off small and then build from there. So a lot of this has to do with that understanding of how you can apply it powerfully in your life, of changing your focus. A lot of this also has to do with your state of being. How do you feel? Because when you feel more expanded, you tend to have more potential. You tend to see things more as opportunities than blocks. And when you start with that kind of perspective, you have much more ability to believe something because your state of being is increased. So pay attention to how you feel as well. but realize that at a fundamental level, your beliefs are literally creating your reality. I think that understanding what you believe to be true is much more powerful than even just the law of attraction. Because when you become aware of what you believe, you then change the outer mirror reflection. Sometimes you may say, I want to attract that into my life. Maybe it's a certain job, a certain income, a certain type of person into your life. But you believe you're not worthy, or you believe that you're only capable of making a certain amount per year, and this job is much more than that. So you have to be aware of what that is, and then you have to say, why is this in place? Many times what we believe to be true is just simply comfortable. It's comfortable to believe certain things because it keeps you from having to step outside your comfort zone and to take more action. So become aware of what that is. Really, the power of this whole video is understanding the awareness of what you believe to be true about yourself. And when you get to the core of what you believe to be true, you start to take your power back, because then you're not like a leaf in the wind. You're not just molding to your environment. You're more so intending for things to happen. So this is something that you can begin to really powerfully apply. Now, if you want to understand how to reprogram your subconscious beliefs, I've created a free meditation, the Subconscious Mind Meditation, that's just really powerful for completely reprogramming your mind. Most of our life is ran by our subconscious mind, so this is something you can listen to as you go to bed. I recommend that you listen to it for 28 days at least to really get the best benefits out of it. And it's something that's absolutely free. I'm going to go and put it in the top of the description box below. And I think it'll help you to really embody more of who you are and what your potential is. So remember, the whole part of this process is understanding that whatever you focus on grows. The thoughts you think are just momentum of thoughts in a certain direction. That when you become aware and you start to ask yourself the question, what would I have to believe to be true for this to be happening? You start to take your power back. You start to bring the unconscious into the conscious. That then what you can do is start to model other people that have had success, and at least model their psychology. Maybe you do it in your own way, you're authentic to yourself, but you find that you restructure your beliefs when you realize that other people have done it with less than what you have. It starts to make it a lot easier for you to connect to it. Then from there, you can start to give yourself little baby steps in that direction, like that little plank analogy that I was giving, and that as you do that, you'll see that you can do so much more than you priorly thought, and all you have to do is start to focus in a new direction. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you guys liked it, subscribe if you haven't already. Also, hit that little notification gear so that you guys can see the daily vids that I do. And other than that, as always, peace, much love.